We're here at St. John Church. Of course, we got a little look from the choir loft in the balcony. You probably can't quite see it, but there is a stained glass window of the Eucharist directly behind me. I'm told that it looks moderately like a halo behind my head. So just so you know, that is not a supernatural phenomena. That is just the window that is behind me. It's not a miracle, if you would say. It is just ordinary. But we are discussing miracles today, right? We're talking about Eucharistic miracles during this great month of July. And the miracle I wanted to discuss, I kind of mixed up a little bit of the story last week with Buenos Aires, but it didn't really matter too much for the veracity of the story. It's just the circumstances surrounding it. So this one occurred in 2006 in a small city of Tixtla, Mexico. And so in that parish church, there was a retreat happening. And I mentioned that with the other one last week. And there was a religious sister distributing Holy Communion. And as she was distributing Holy Communion, she looked down at the next host that she was supposed to distribute. And something was oozing. A reddish substance, she says, began to ooze out of the host. And her face, evidently, just immediately, she began to tear up. She began to be overwhelmed by what she was seeing, because who knows? And so she turns and she goes to one of the priests that was distributing Holy Communion and just absolutely kind of dumbfounded by what was happening. And so they sent it off, like the one in Buenos Aires, they sent it off to be examined, to be scientifically kind of examined to see what's going on here. Is this something that, for example, did somebody take some blood and just drop it on top of this host to make it look like it was oozing, right? That would be one way to claim a Eucharistic miracle, or something that looked like that, but not. So the scientific report came back, and it's in this book, and it's something just worth reading because it is so phenomenal. And there are a number of points that they make about this after analyzing this host. And the first one is the reddish substance analyzed corresponds to blood in which there are hemoglobin and DNA of human origin. So there's human DNA, human blood. So this is not some coyote blood that is on this host, but it's human. Also, secondly, maybe, 2 studies conducted by eminent forensic experts with different methods have shown that the substance originates from the interior, excluding the hypothesis that someone could have applied it from the outside. So that as they analyzed this, they found that the host is coming from the outside, working its way in. And you can read different studies as to how they determined that, but basically shows that it couldn't have been manufactured this way, or it couldn't have been fabricated this way, because the blood starts from the inside and works its way out. Here's one. The blood type is AB, which is the same blood type found in the host of Lanciano, which is the oldest Eucharistic miracle that we know of, and the same blood type on the Shroud of Turin. So the Shroud of Turin was used to wrap Jesus, we believe is used to wrap Jesus's body. So the same blood type, AB, is there. Side note, interesting thing, I am no doctor, and I only am repeating what I've heard, but I believe AB, there's this kind of interesting way that it's the universal recipient and in some ways can be a universal donor. Of course, Jesus has that type of blood, right? To be given to all, and he can receive the burdens of all. So that's really kind of interesting there. A microscopic analysis of magnification and penetration reveals that the upper part of the blood has coagulated since October 2006. However, the underlying internal layers reveal in February 2010 the presence of fresh blood. So 4 years after this miracle happened, the blood on the inside of the host is not coagulated, it's still fresh. And that just shows you Jesus' blood is always fresh, right? It's always giving us new life. Also, there were intact white blood cells, red blood cells, and live macrophages absorbing lipids. The tissue in question appears lacerated and contains recovery mechanisms just as living tissue. So the host itself appears to be appears to be living and is trying to heal itself after it's been lacerated. So that's amazing, because of course Jesus' flesh was lacerated. So there's a whole lot that you could reflect on from this. I mean, one of the things is just this incredible recognition that the church is not against science. Right? The church uses science to analyze these miraculous things, to make sure there is nothing that could be manufactured. There's nothing of human origin. And that's what this reveals for us, that God is still alive and acting. And he uses everything possible to reach out to us in faith. And even our best human analysis has no explanation of how this is happening. And you could only imagine what it would be like to be the scientists analyzing these Eucharistic miracles. But it should have maybe even something more for us, because far more than a scientist being dumbfounded by having results they could never imagine, we're people who've been given a gift we could never imagine. We're people who've been given the gift of the very blood of Jesus Christ. And hopefully our lives reflect this. Hopefully our lives reflect the fact that Jesus has given us his whole life. And we should live our lives in a way that tries to mirror that tries to show that we're grateful, that we're attentive to the great gift of Jesus Christ in the Eucharist, because it is a wondrous gift, a gift that science can't even wrap its head around. So we continue to thank God for this gift of the Eucharist, and we look forward to the ways that he'll work in our parish and in our hearts during this year of the Eucharist.